Welcome, everyone. We're just going to wait for a second or two to allow everyone to come in. We're so happy that you are here and joining us for AccessWorks. I'm going to kick us off, and the first number that I want you to keep in your mind is more than 1 in 4. Not 1 in 100, not 1 in 10, but more than 1 in 4. We live in communities where we might have a disability, or our friends might have a disability, or our family might have a disability. 27%, and that's where I'm getting the more than 1 in 4, 27% of people living in Canada that are over the age of 15 identifies having a disability according to StatsCan. So that is 8 million people. And so I ask myself, many of us ask ourselves, then why is it so hard to fold disabilities into the storylines that we offer? Why and what is stopping us from adjusting how we produce content to make sure that all are included, and what tools and what resources exist now to help us? Now, more than ever, it feels essential to weave everyone into the stories that we tell so that we can authentically capture the experience of living in Canada, and so that we can capture that magical essence of what sets us apart. My name is Lisa Clarkson. I am the Executive Director of Business and Rights and Production Sustainability here at CBC. One of my responsibilities is content accessibility, and that means how is it that we make sure that disabled audiences can access our content, and what is it that we can do and we can do better to make sure that disabled creators and producers are given the space to tell the stories that are important to them. To offer a little physical description, I've got a reddish bob in terms of my hair. I have glasses that are quite transparent and rather big, and you can sort of see I'm wearing a red Olympic little sweater vest. Speaking of the Olympics and the Paralympics, I'm so very proud to tell you that the Olympics and the Paralympics are our most accessible Olympics and Paralympics ever. I hope you're watching right now on CBC Gem, not just the hockey, but all of the other sports, both ones that we're all familiar with and some interesting ones that I always think I only see every 4 years when it comes to the Winter Olympics. For accessibility, we have a CBC Sports YouTube channel, which provides daily segments with ASL throughout the games. I hope you check that out. The opening ceremonies, the closing ceremonies feature closed captioning and described video in ASL. We have our daytime and primetime coverage with described video and also closed captioning. And all of our digital experiences we have created, we have devised with disability in mind, and we have tested it out with users of assistive technology to make sure that for those of you that use assistive technology, that it works for you. So this afternoon, our aim is to bring the industry together and to hear about how some creators, some producers, and some talent are bringing disability into the stories that they tell. And we're also gathering industry leaders. You'll hear from CBC, of course, and also the Disability Screen Fund, the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund, AMI, NSI. Well, they will tell you about the tools and resources and their experiences that they have to offer. In terms of where I am, I am coming to you from Toronto, which is the unceded and traditional territory of many nations, many Indigenous nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. And it's home now to many diverse First Nations peoples. As part of my own reflection on indigeneity in Canada, I want to shout out Paralympian Tyler McGregor. If you don't know Tyler McGregor, he is the captain of the national para hockey team, and he's been a vocal advocate for Indigenous inclusion in sport. So cheering you on, Tyler, from here. To set you up, what do you need for today's session? You don't need anything. You just need yourself. And we have live closed captioning as well as ASL interpretation, which hopefully you've detected. If anyone requires ASL for today's session, please pin the interpreter in Zoom and adjust the size of the interpreter to achieve your desired view. We've got a packed agenda, so if you've got any questions, we've got a Q&A function just down below. Please put your questions in there and we'll try and answer them during the session. And if not, what you're going to get later today, tomorrow, is a packed takeaway document, which will have all of the presentations with links. Anything that we hear people mentioning, we will endeavor to add that to the takeaway document, as well as responses to the questions which we weren't able to get to. I want to tell you about one form of storytelling, and that is music and song. Music has a way of cutting through to the heart of what's important to us as human beings, and as people living in Canada, we can unleash all sorts of emotions, joy and sadness and pride. So I'm pleased to introduce you to our first segment, which is the students from the W. Ross Macdonald School for the Blind. They will perform a newly commissioned song for CBC's popular music class challenge. The song is called Heart, or Mite, and it was composed by Indigenous composer Cheryl Soway-Pagaham. And I mean, I've never heard anything more beautiful. The song is about how our hearts beat as one despite individual differences. And our hope is that as you see and listen to the song, it shows the transformative impact of music and music education on blind and low vision youth, while simultaneously celebrating Indigenous culture. And we'll give you a link when it's available, but there is a short documentary which was supported by CBC's AccessWorks and led by CBC's Kai Black about the performers and their experiences, which will be available on CBC Music platforms. Just before we see the video, I just want to pause for a second and recognize and acknowledge the tragedy that happened yesterday at another school, Tumbler Ridge Secondary School in BC. Our hearts are broken at the trauma that the students and community were forced to endure. We hold you in our hearts as we listen to the song Heart, or Mite. And so now I will turn it over to the students from the W. Ross Macdonald School for the Blind.
Hi, my name is Wilson. I am from W. Ross Macdonald School for the Blind. We're excited this year to kick off the AccessWorks conference with a performance that celebrates the spirit of inclusion. This is the newly commissioned song, Miti, or Heart, by Indigenous composer Cheryl Suipagaham. Good luck, everyone.
When we stand together, it's like one heartbeat.
Thank you so much to the W. Ross Macdonald School Choir. I think if you remember nothing else from today, I hope that you do take away with you that no matter our individual differences, our hearts do beat as one. With that beautiful song, I am thrilled to introduce to you Jenny Meadows, who is a senior analyst at CBC, and she is going to talk to us about what our audience is saying. Over to you, Jenny.
Thank you so much. Just making sure, there we go. Okay, excellent. So thank you for having me today to offer a physical description. I am a white woman with long blonde hair. I'm wearing a beige sweater and I'm sitting in my home office in Halifax today with a blurred background. So Lisa mentioned this earlier, but to ground ourselves in the broader context of disability in Canada, according to the latest data, 27% of Canadians aged 15 and older report having at least one disability. So 1 in 4. as media professionals, as creators, as producers. Um, it's incredibly important because we shape perceptions and we drive inclusion. But we can only do that if we're actually reaching our audience. By recognizing that a quarter of our potential audience lives with a disability, we shift our perspective. Accessibility is essential. And so let's take a look at some of the data that we have. Okay. So to understand how these 1 in 4 Canadians are interacting with our content, we're going to look at some data from the Media Technology Monitor, or the MTM. The MTM is a research product of CBC Radio-Canada, and it's one of the most robust surveys of its kind, with over 300,000 Canadians interviewed over the last 2 decades. What's particularly exciting today is that this data that I'm sharing with you is from our brand new fall 2025 survey. It's being released next week, so you'll have so you're the first ones to see it, and you're having the first exclusive look. When we look at the hardware, the data tells a story of high connectivity. Canadians with disabilities maintain a digital presence that nearly mirrors the general population. While there are slight gaps, as you can see here, the vast majority are using the same screens as everyone. 83% own a smartphone, 83% use a computer, and 87% own a TV set, virtually identical to that of the general population. So the takeaway here is the audience is there. They have the devices, they have the screens. If they aren't consuming our content, it isn't because the lack of technology, it's the barriers within the content itself. In the youth demographic, children with disabilities are actually leading the way with digital adoption. While 42% of Canadian children aged 2 to 17 have their own phone, that jumps to 48% for children with a disability. We see a similar trend in computer usage, with 78% of children with a disability using a computer in the past month versus 71% among all children. So for these kids, a device is often more than just a toy. It's an essential bridge for assistive apps that they can use personally or in school, personalized communication. And if we ensure our content is accessible today, we are building a lifelong relationship with a generation of digital power users. The digital divide is much narrower than many assume. 92% of Canadians with a disability have a high-speed internet connection at home, compared to 94% of the general population. So the pipes are laid, the screens are on. The question is for us isn't whether they can access the internet, it's whether once they are there, they find the content that was designed for them in mind. Now let's look at how they get their television. So despite the talk of cord cutting, with all the different apps and platforms available, paid TV subscriptions remain slightly more common in the homes of disabled Canadians at 59%, so over half the population, compared to 58% among the general population. So in a linear environment, accessibility features like closed captioning are standardized and regulated. So for this audience, a TV set remains a reliable and access portal. In the streaming world, this audience is also highly active. While Netflix leads for everybody, look at the middle of the chart. Persons with a disability are actually over-indexing on several platforms. Disney Plus sits at 42% compared to 37%, Crave at 32%, and YouTube Premium at 18% versus 17%. They're the platform agnostic and searching for content wherever it is most accessible. We need to ensure our content is ready for them on every service they use. And interestingly, for children, the preference for streaming is even stronger. So this is actually past month usage. The slide before was looking at subscriptions, so those who have access to a subscription. And for kids, we're looking at past month usership. 71% of kids with a disability watch Netflix. 51% watch Disney compared to 45% of all children, and 49% of watched Amazon Prime Video. These platforms are primary destinations for these kids. If you're making content for children, you're making content for children with disabilities, period. Socially, we see a migration towards communities that offer control and connection. While Facebook is a staple, and that is for everybody, persons with a disability are significantly outpacing the average on, for example, Discord, which you can see on the far right, with 23% usage compared to 14% among Canadians, the rest of Canadians. TikTok and Reddit, both at 27% compared to 23% for others. So these spaces are unique because they allow self-advocacy and more accessible text-based or short-form interaction. So we need to meet them where they're thriving. And persons with disability are high volume consumers across the board. So this is looking at time spent with various media. We have linear television, subscription video on demand service, also known as SVOD, and social networking. So they spend close to 14 and a half hours on linear television, and that's near 4 more hours in a typical week than the average Canadian. They spend almost 9 hours on subscription video on demand services like the Netflix, and almost 11 hours on social networking. Just slightly more, about half an hour more than the average population. So for many, media is a primary window into the world. The stakes for making that window accessible couldn't be any higher. So numbers tell us the what. So we've briefly looked at the what. Now tell us, let's look at the why. Using data from the Media Technology Monitor, which you've seen, but we're also adding in some mission and visions perception survey that the research department at CBC Canada performs every year. Let's look at some of the emotional and practical expectations this audience has for the content that we create. So we asked Canadians, how important is authentic representation of your disability? And overwhelmingly, 55% of Canadians with a disability said it is important to them, with 21% calling it very important. Conversely, only 10% said it wasn't important at all. So our audience isn't just looking for a signal, they're looking for themselves. They want their lived experiences reflected accurately and with dignity. So this is our MVPS data. And this is our last slide today. So finally, let's challenge the idea of accessibility is only for a few. Look at this. 35% of Anglophones who do not have a disability are actually using closed captioning. Whether it's a noisy room or a second language, accessibility features make the experience better for everyone. By designing for the 27%, you are creating a better product for 100% of your audience. Thank you so much for inviting me today. I now have the pleasure of introducing Stephen Sawchuk, Aaron Masalam, and Julia Vittorio from the Assembly. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny. And hi, everybody. My name is Stephen Sawchuk. I am one of the executive producers of CBC's The Assembly. I am a Caucasian male with short brown hair, and I'm wearing a white t-shirt and a brown jacket. And I have two of my colleagues from The Assembly joining me today who will introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Erin Masalam. I'm a Caucasian female with curly brown hair and a red shirt, and I'm the casting producer on The Assembly.
Hi, my name is Juliana. I am a cast member on The Assembly, and I'm here. I am a white person as well with short brown hair and a red shirt.
Okay. Thanks, guys. And Natasha, could we go to the next slide, please? All right. So a bit about the Assembly. In each episode of the Assembly, we bring together one of Canada's most popular celebrities with a group of atypical interviewers, all on the autism spectrum. Our season 1 celebrity guests included Howie Mandel, Russell Peters, Jan Arden, Maitreyi Ramakrishnan, Arlene Dickinson, and Alan Hocko. And the show format originated in France and was inspired by a newspaper organization run entirely by autistic journalists. And the series has since been adapted in 25 territories across Europe and Asia. And Natasha, I think we will, for anyone who hasn't seen the show, I think we'll actually play the season 1 trailer for you.
Have you ever been rejected by somebody you love?
Oh, yeah.
Was it because they thought you weren't good looking or something?
What is the darkest thought you've ever had?
Guys have such great questions.
I heard you shave your head. Is there anyone else you shave?
Where do you want me?
Welcome to the assembly.
Hell yeah, let's go.
A collective of autistic and neurodivergent interviewers.
Here we go.
This is going to be fun.
I cannot wait.
Our rules are no questions are off the table.
How did you lose your virginity?
How would you define what makes a person evil?
Oh my gosh.
Do you like to ride a bike?
This is like the most fun show I've ever done.
No subjects are out of bounds.
Have you ever kissed a boy?
I did not see that coming.
What's it like being alone at your age?
Wow.
How do you feel about your older brother being incarcerated for murder?
Learning to love myself after my autism diagnosis was a little bit confusing. Do you love yourself?
Oh, you make me cry. Give you a hug? Please. I can give you a hug. It's okay, I get it.
You can do anything you put your mind to.
And all might happen.
I have no filter already. It's just nice to meet other humans with no filter.
The most honest, beautiful, original, authentic conversation.
Okay, thank you. Probably the best interview I've ever had.
Okay, I shaved my. You said nothing's off the table.
We could go back to the deck, thank you. So the cast of the assembly was made up of 47 interviewers, all on the spectrum. The interviewers researched and wrote all of their own questions, giving them full creative control. Behind the scenes, we had autistic and neurodivergent representation across multiple departments, and that includes roles above the line as well as below the line. And throughout the entire process, we contracted several professionals experienced working with the autistic community, including speech pathologists, a counselor, and a medic. And through the post-production process, we also involved multiple consultants from within the community to provide editorial feedback on the episodes to help us ensure accurate and authentic representation. And next slide, please. So when scouting our filming locations, we always worked with an accessibility coordinator to ensure everyone's individual needs could be accommodated to the best of our ability. And to accommodate sensory requirements, the series was filmed entirely with natural lighting, so we didn't set up a single light. We also had a dedicated sensory room on set, which was a space where the interviewers could go at any point in time before, during, or after filming. And the rooms were quiet, fragrance-free, had dim lighting, and included noise-canceling headphones, eyewear, fidget spinners, and other sensory supports. And for anyone that required a caregiver or support worker, they were always welcome and accommodated behind the scenes or on set. And so all 6 of our season 1 celebrity guests had amazing things to say about their experience on the show. These are just some of them. Howie Mandel called it the most honest, beautiful, original, authentic conversation he's ever had on camera. And Arlene Dickinson called it the best TV experience she's ever had. All right, and next slide, please. All right, and I will now hand things over to our casting producer, Aaron.
Great. Thanks so much, Stephen. Our goal was to cast a diverse group of autistic adults to our roster for season 1. And the first season saw a vibrant cast of 47 folks, and they rotated in and throughout the 6th episode. This allowed for flexibility for all schedules for all folks. We aimed for diversity throughout our cast, but we also wanted to showcase a variety of individuals across the autism spectrum as well. Next slide, please. We did a meet and greet where potential cast, their support, family, and friends could meet the production team and learn more about the project. This was hosted in person at This World Hour Center, an autistic social safe space here in Vancouver. We also contracted 6 professionals who work with autistic and neurodivergent individuals to oversee approximately 6 to 8 cast members leading up to the shoot and on the filming days. These support folks really helped our cast if they had any specific individual needs or accommodations, in addition to their caregiver or support worker that was there for them on the day. Next slide. Our approach to casting was a little bit different than the norm. We really decided, instead of doing an open casting call, that we engage with autistic and neurodivergent organizations, administrators, advocates, and professionals to discuss the series, to share intentions, and to build trust. Some of the organizations and representatives that we did work with, I have included a long list on the side of this deck, but I'll just read a few of them for you. We worked with Social Dynamics, Pacific Autism Family Network, Pathways, Possibilities, Past Adult Services, as well as Plan, and the Canucks Autism Network. This is a non-exclusive list. We have many, many, many partners and organizations that we work with. Next slide, please. So preparing for the interviews, we provided each interviewer a information pack or sheets, kind of like a biography on the celebrities in advance of the filming. Our interviewers were then encouraged and empowered to do their own independent research and dig deep to personally connect with the guests and come up with their own unique set of questions. We encouraged interviewers to memorize their questions, but always had questions printed on white cards during the taping to ensure that everyone felt set up for success. And our moderator, who is also a professional speech pathologist, was also always present on set to support any interviewers who needed support on the day. Next slide, please. Aftercare was very, very important to us as a production. So after we wrapped production, we sent out a few surveys to get a sense of the interviewer's overall experience being on the assembly and to learn what worked and what we can improve upon next time. Also, before the show aired, we did online safety and media preparedness workshops to set our interviewers up for success as they navigated the airing of the show and potential social media opportunities and hazards. Each interviewer also received a private third-party clinical counseling session and additional sessions if required. Personally, for me, a beautiful byproduct of the show was that I saw this warm and welcoming community spring up from among our interviewers. And it's something I'm very, very proud of, and proud of our interviewers as well. Next slide. On our slide deck, we have 4 kind of testimonials from just 4 of the 47 interviewers. I'll just read Nicole's out loud. She says, "Words cannot describe the value of an opportunity for people that generally struggle through life finding opportunities. The assembly holds a greater social and cultural value than almost all other programming on TV." And there are 3 other testimonials that you could read in the slide deck after the session is over. Next slide, please. Great. I'm going to introduce Juliana Vittorio, but first I wanted to play a clip of her actually interviewing Jan Arden. So if you can play that clip first, and then Juliana, take it away afterwards and share your experience.
Thanks, Erin.
Juliana.
Yes, go! Hello.
Hello.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited that you're excited.
I feel it's been 10 years since I last saw you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you've been to my shows before?
2 of them.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my favorite song of yours is Good Mother. And your music is very well known for being emotionally deep and so honest. And when you're in that space of writing, what does that look like for you, the process?
It is a magical, mysterious thing to do. And I should preface this by telling all of you that I don't read music. I don't know what I'm playing on guitar. I don't know the notes on the piano. I have no theoretical understanding of what a piece of sheet music looks like. Having said that, I just instinctively follow my heart.
That was a really good clip. I'm so happy to see that after watching it many times in the last several months, and I hope everyone gets to watch the rest of the season as well. Just kind of going through the questions about my own experience from doing the assembly, this was probably one of the most incredible experiences I've been able to do in my life, and it was one for me full of collaboration, joy, and learning. But being on set throughout this process, teamwork was so predominant in that everyone played a huge part in making this such a beautiful result. And in every part of the process mattered in that way. And for some, why I did want to do the assembly and it mattered to me is that growing up, being autistic, the representation for someone like me wasn't really predominant on television shows I've seen. And being allowed to do that gave me the opportunity to show other people that are on the autism and neurodivergent communities that our voices matter. We have a place and we can make an impact in what we do and in the world. In terms of how I shaped my questions, so as we said earlier in earlier slides, we were given information briefs on the person we were interviewing to kind of as a starting place. I went kind of beyond that and doing further research outside of that. As I do when I write questions, we always want to come from a place of curiosity, kindness, and respect, because they are in our space and we're interviewing them, but we want them to feel the same as we do and how they can be open in the way that works for them. In terms of how it's impacted me, it has played a huge impact on me. I didn't think that it would be so life-changing, and it's something I'm not going to forget ever. It's allowed me to build lasting friendships with other people I would have never met otherwise in my community, growing also in that self-confidence as somebody that wants to do good in the world, and also learning that being open and vulnerable is okay and is important and meaningful, not just to me, but to someone else that may want to as well. And it's really shown me that I'm truly capable of anything I set my mind to, no matter the difficulty. And even to know that I can do anything that's the most challenging. So thank you everyone for being a part of this discussion with us. And Stephen, I'm going to put it back to you.
Sure. Thanks, Juliana, and thank you everybody for your time tuning in. I now have the pleasure of handing things off to Jeremy Saunders, the creator of the Sickboy podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to check out the assembly. I absolutely loved that. So thank you guys so much. Okay. Well, my name is Jeremy Saunders. I am a white male with dark brown hair, maybe a couple of grays if you're looking close enough. I'm wearing a white t-shirt, green pants, and I am currently sitting in my on the set of my podcast, which is located in Halifax, Nova Scotia. So I am the co-founder of Snack Labs, which is an audio production studio where we create podcasts and audio documentaries. And I feel very fortunate to say that I get to listen to, collect, and tell stories for a living. I've actually worked in the media and entertainment industry for pretty much my entire life. In fact, one of my very first jobs ever was a place in my hometown called Excitement Video, which was a Well, it was a porn store. It was a porn movie rental shop, and I applied when I was 17 as a joke, and they hired me on the spot. And my mother was mortified, and that's a true story. Actually, I was awarded Employee of the Month my first month there because I had this wonderful knack for upselling the most lube, which is also a true story. But that's neither here nor there. Aside from that, I went on to study acting in university. I went to what was formerly known as Ryerson Theatre School, now Toronto Metropolitan University. And from there, I had a career in film and television where I had a number of acting and hosting roles, including hosting a Canadian Screen Award-winning children's television program called Artsuka, which actually aired on CBC, as well as 50 other countries around the world. And somehow I managed to do all of this while living with a genetic and progressive disease called cystic fibrosis. So for those of you who may or may not be aware, cystic fibrosis is it's a genetic disease. It's a multi-organ affecting disease. Most people know it as a lung disease, but really it affects a whole slew of different systems in the body. Primarily for me, it's the lungs and the digestive system. So essentially what's happening in my body is I have this mutation where I don't have the ability to move chloride properly in and out of the cells of my body, which leads to this thick buildup of heavy, sticky mucus. Gross. And this mucus is basically a breeding ground for bacteria. So my lungs, for example, all that mucus can easily turn something like a common cold into a full-blown pneumonia or lung infection. In terms of my digestion, my pancreas is affected by CF due to the fact that that buildup of mucus has made my pancreas essentially unable to produce the natural enzyme required for breaking down food. So malnutrition is a really big part of living with cystic fibrosis. Gaining weight is like a constant battle. CF also has a few very strange symptoms, some that don't get much airtime or talked about. But since I'm short for time, I'll give you one of my favorite weird symptoms, which is that I am very salty, literally and figuratively. People with CF actually have 2 to 5 times more salt in their sweat than the average person. And there's actually this is so fascinating. There's this ancient 15th century Northern European Germanic folk saying that went, "Woe to the child who when kissed on the forehead tastes salty, for he is bewitched and soon must die." So all the way back in the 15th century, we knew about cystic fibrosis. We just didn't have a name for it. We didn't have a word for it. We didn't really know. We just thought that, the baby was cursed by a witch, but we knew something was going on. And that's actually one of the first things that parents notice about their newborn baby, if they have cystic fibrosis, is that when they give their baby a kiss, they taste really salty. Okay, so what brings me here today? Well, about 10 years ago, I started a podcast with 2 of my best friends, Brian Stever and Taylor McGilvery, and the podcast is called Sickboy. Natasha, you can bring up that first little slide or video there. So Sickboy was created to talk about the things that make people uncomfortable. Illness, disability, death, trauma, but all through laughter. Natasha, it is a video, so if you hit play, we might see, there we go, there are the boys. Oh yes, right, there we go. So the only place where dick jokes and terminal diagnoses peacefully coexist. If that tagline doesn't really set you up for what you're in for, then I don't know what to tell you. But basically, the idea is that we talk about these hard things, illness, death, disability, trauma, but we do it through a lens of laughter and comedy. You can cut that slide there. That's great. Thank you. So here's the thing. Growing up with cystic fibrosis my entire life, I've noticed that, and I believe truly that humor can be an incredible tool to bridge the gap between folks who have lived experience and those who don't. It can break down stigma. It can cultivate an open and safe space for dialogue. And not long after starting this podcast, we came to realize how powerful this sort of dialogue can be when it comes to patient advocacy. So since our very first episode, which aired 10 years ago in September this year, we have published well over 900 episodes. We're coming up on 1,000, actually. We've spoken to people from across the world, and we've covered every illness you can imagine. And still to this day, we're finding guests that are living with something we've never even heard of. In fact, we have currently a list of over 4,000 people who have applied to be on the show to be a guest and share their story and share what they've been through. And so me and the guys, we have leaned into the discomfort of every one of those conversations on the podcast because, in our opinion, these are the conversations that people need to have and need to hear. But this isn't just about exploring the medical diagnoses, right? For us, the magic of the podcast happens when we move past the clinical chart and into the actual human experience. In a traditional healthcare setting, the patient is often a passive participant in their own story. In podcasting, they are the protagonist. And so by giving someone a microphone and giving someone permission to be funny, irreverent, or even to be angry about their situation and their experience, we aren't just raising awareness, we are restoring agency. And we've seen firsthand how this platform allows people to take ownership of their own narrative, turning a traumatic lived experience into a masterclass for the rest of us. And so this massive backlog of 4,000 applicants, I mean, it tells us one big thing, which is that people are starving to be heard. They want to know that their sometimes most difficult moments can be a source of connection rather than isolation. And through Sickboy, we've realized that the whole, that while medicine might treat the body, it's the storytelling that sustains the person. So of course, you know, me and the guys, we were so thrilled when CBC came a knocking and asked us if we would like to take part in the Access CBC program. And so we ended up getting paired up with our now very good friend Brock, who has been working with us since the fall as an intern. And Brock lives with cerebral palsy. And actually, before we started working with Brock in an official capacity, I thought it would be fun to be introduced to him on the podcast. So what we did was we booked him in for a recording, and that's actually like how essentially we met. And I have here a short clip from that episode that we did with Brock. Let's throw to that.
When I was 4 years old, I was accused of starting a fire in my parents' basement without them even knowing that I had a disability until they realized, oh, he's got CP, he wouldn't have started said fire.
So wait. Yeah, hold on. Brock, are you trying to say that just because you have cerebral palsy, it means that there's no way that you could be a pyromaniac?
Yeah, like it vindicated you?
What kind of fucking assumption is that, brother?
I guess I could have at 4. I could have, started a fire, but I would have had to get down a few flights of stairs, which then I would have been a puddle of whatever at the bottom of it.
just bones and flesh. Okay, so there we go. So that was Brock, and that was the basically the first hour we had with meeting Brock, and that recording was it was incredible. We were so thrilled with how it panned out, so much so that we thought it would be fun to include Brock in an upcoming live episode that we were traveling to Calgary to perform for Pod Summit, which is an annual podcast conference. And we were we were contracted to close out the conference by performing a live recording of Sickboy for a theater full of people. So we ran this idea by CBC, and we suggested that that because we were doing this in like this old historic theater, an old movie theater, we could, for sake of ease, we could patch Brock in through a live feed and project him onto the theater screen and record with him, interview him virtually. CBC loved the idea, so much so that they graciously agreed to actually fly Brock and his personal support worker out to Calgary to be at the live show and be our guest in person. And so that's exactly what we did. And I cannot even begin to express how incredibly grateful we all were for that experience. Brock has become an integral part of the team. He's working in the back end to help me with booking guests and doing research. But also, you know, Brock is there to step up when we need a backup host, when one of the guys might be out sick or unable to record for some reason. And it's truly been the best experience to get to know him as a teammate, but more importantly, to become a friend. But if there's one thing that I want you to take away from our experience with Brock and the Access CBC program, is this: accessibility. It isn't a box to be checked, right? It's a door to be opened. When we brought Brock into our world, we weren't just helping someone; we were literally leveling up our own show. Brock didn't just fill a seat. He brought a perspective. He brought his own wit and his lived experience that we simply didn't have. And therefore, he made the three of us better creators. So programs like this that prove when you remove the physical and systemic barriers that keep people apart, you don't just get a better workplace, you get better stories. You get more authentic representation. And honestly, you have a hell of a lot more fun. So as you, if you're listening to this, if you have your own projects and your own programs, I encourage you in that process, look out for your Brocks. Look for the voices that are missing from your table, because they aren't just looking for an in. They are looking to help you build something bigger, louder, and more human than you could ever build alone. So with that, thank you so much for listening and having me. This has been really fun. Up next, we have Daniel Ennett, Dylan Wirtz, and Frederick Croach, the team behind Crip, for their presentation, Origin Story, the Many Forms of Crip.
Hello. Danny, why don't you go first, and then Fred, and then I'll go last.
Thank you, Jeremy, for introducing us. I'm Daniel Ennett, one of the directors on Crip and one of the primary participants. I'm a limbless guy in a power wheelchair wearing a black tank top.
My name's Frederick Croach, and I'm one of the participants in Crip along with Danny. And I have lovely, full, not receding hairline at all, brown hair, and I'm wearing a blue sweater.
And I'm Dylan. I am in Vancouver. I am a settler with brown hair and a brown beard. So our thing is called The Many Forms of Crip. And we wanted to just kind of tell a bit of the origin story of this show and go through. I'm assuming there's probably a lot of creators listening, and we thought it might be interesting to talk about the sort of different forms this show took before it ended up being what it is now. I'll give you a quick elevator pitch of what it is, which is basically a quadruple amputee and his best friend / caregiver travel across the country to get Danny work so that he can pay for his own PSWs and stay out of long-term care. Along the way, they meet with other disabled artists and activists to hear their stories. And maybe now might be a good time to just show the trailer for season 1, which I believe is queued up by somebody. Possibly.
Back in the RV, let's go. Okay, we're doing it. It's good to finally be on the road. Thought this day would never come. My name is Daniel Ennett. I've been making films, TV shows, and art for the last 10 years with my best friend and collaborator, Frederick Crouch.
I'm worried about you. I've been worried for a while about you winding up in long-term care.
As a quadruple amputee, the minute my mom is no longer able to supplement my care at all, they will then try and put me in an institution.
If I can get you more work, that might stave off the looming threat of this institutionalization. I think we should get in an RV and drive across the continent. Oh God. The engine's acting funny. Right now we're totally screwed. Thinking we stop in like Chicago and Toronto and New York City. That's where like TV jobs are.
We can meet other disabled people struggling with long-term care.
Why are we doing a photo shoot with Aaron in a junkyard?
Okay, Fred.
Here's a big question. How do you feel about your friend Frederick being your caregiver? Niagara Falls, dude!
I'm getting the chance to do a bunch of stuff that I've never done before.
Our next comic is Daniel Ennett.
I'm from Canada. This is just how we all look.
Check it out, photography exhibit. The keys are in the ignition and all the doors are locked. And Danny's in there. Jesus Christ. Come on, dude. Ah, he did it! He did it! Uh-oh, sprung a leak. Dude, you fell over.
Pass me some shampoo and this.
We're going downtown. Oh, God.
I'm gonna get you to take my pants and underwear off.
I had no idea caregiving was so demanding. I had no idea. So I'm losing my mind. I need a break.
What did you think you were getting into when we signed up on this?
I thought that you would just have a lot more autonomy.
I've had other care workers, come to it with better mindset.
I think I can manage that for like 8 hours, and then it becomes a burden.
Burden, interesting choice of words.
It's weight on me.
You care a lot and you love a lot, and I think that is your key.
We did great, man.
This all started as such a simple idea.
Where are we? What city is this?
Keeping my best friend out of long-term care. But now it's grown into something bigger.
Fred, get the spray paint. Dignity for disability. I'm gonna protect you. So I got rations for the bunker. This is gonna be one hell of a ride. Crip trip.
Fine, go that way, you malfunctioning, nearsighted pile of scrap. I'm going this way. A Catapult Pictures production. Produced in association with AMI, TVO.
Okay. I also forgot to mention I am the showrunner and the director of Crip Trip, seasons 1 and 2. So Danny, why don't we go back to the beginning? What was the original, where did this come from? What was the original kind of nugget of the idea?
Yeah, I graduated in 2020 from a psych program where I was trying to interrogate inspiration porn. So I was in the psychology faculty. And I had just wrapped on that, and I graduated freshly into a pandemic, which is an excellent place to be mentally. So I did, at that point in time, I was transitioning my care from familial, where my mother was doing the majority of my care work, to governmental. So this was my first big interaction looking at the healthcare system at large. And in so doing, I found out just how draconian and evil the bureaucracy can be. And I really wanted to make a project to kind of shed some light on, how challenging care work is, but also the challenges that a lot of our community are facing. And Fred will be the first person to tell you that the first iteration of this pitch was very journalistic and boring. Fred, do you want to comment a bit on that?
I think I'd use the term academic.
Yeah.
You sort of just got out of university, and the original pitch for this project was mostly sort of like talking head interviews, talking to legal experts and advocates across Canada. Um, and I'd also like to note that Danny and I had been working in TV for, many, many years before we made this project. We did 3 seasons of an overly inspirational web series for TELUS called Invincible. We've done art films and all sorts of smaller things, but never broadcast TV. And so Danny started working on the project. I came on board and I was like, there's something here, but we should maybe try to change the approach and make it entertaining. And once we went down that path, it sort of turned into, what if it was more like a buddy road trip, and then there could be comical moments, but the comedy would be used to like tell this really desperate, dark truth that's happening. And once we went down that path, we started realizing that there might be a real like a project here that an audience would appreciate.
So Danny, your first one, what was it that Fred saw? Did you have a tape? Did you just have something written? He obviously wasn't involved at all. Like, what was it?
I had been compiling a bunch of research, stratification theory from sociology, psychological, interpretations of how people view people with disabilities. And I had so much to say, and whenever I would rant about care work, I would watch people's eyes glaze over. And we realized that the easiest way to convey this is by showing and not telling, and humanizing the story. And one of the fantastic mechanics that we came up with in Crip Trip is Fred becoming my caregiver on the road trip. So he's brand new to it. He's fresh and doe-eyed, and he has this expectation of how easy it's going to be because he sees me functioning in my everyday life, but he's not quite aware of the back end. And in so doing, he provides a vehicle for a lay audience who might not be familiar with any aspects around care work to see how challenging it is. And you see a very human experience that a lot of elderly care workers and familial care workers often experience, which is just being thrown into the deep end of care work due to an accident occurring or a family member aging past a certain point. And Fred learned the hardest way humanly possible, which is while we're traveling. So I don't have any of the accessibility measures I would usually have, and it ran us both straight into the ground. We were at each other's throats constantly because we're very good friends, and somehow we're still working together. We're on season 2 now.
But before we get there, so you have the idea, Fred's like, let's augment it, let's put entertainment, sort of entertainment is the sugar that makes the medicine go down a bit sweeter. But it wasn't always a series, right? Like you were originally pitching it as a feature film. Talk about that and what that original elevator pitch was for the feature.
You attended Hot Docs like producer accelerator with the feature, and Reed Davenport was, I think, your mentor on it, and he's this amazing filmmaker in the disability space. And so the feature version of this started off very academic with, it was called Autonomy and Dignity, and had a lot of academic terms in there. And then as it became more and more entertaining, we started realizing, wait, there's something here. And so we actually pitched this to the Telefilm Talent to Watch as a feature-length documentary, and we got it. We got the Telefilm Talent to Watch, that was our 8th time applying to it, and we were so happy. And then what happened, Danny?
Then we got greenlit and had to give all the money back. So, yay! Oh no! Yay!
Yeah.
So before we before we get to the green light, so you have this pitch for a feature. You're excited and ready to go on the road and possibly make this a feature-length film. Then AMI comes in and they say, hey, actually, we're kind of interested in this as a series as opposed to a feature. And that's where I came in and kind of worked with you guys to help shape it as a series as opposed to an hour and a half. What kind of changes did you have to make, or what were the sort of challenges of adapting that story from the 90-minute format to, 6 1-hour episodes?
E&O insurance is huge. So like how edgy we can be with some of the, larger narratives when you're, taking on your own liability versus going on to do a series. That's a big jump. Stretching out the participants that we're meeting up with. So a large part of this is trying to, embed with the disabled community, show off the disabled community, meet with artists on a road trip. So kind of expanding that out to meet the beats of a, long form series as opposed to a much shorter, punchier, 90-minute doc.
The story, was challenging because it's 6 1-hour episodes as we drive from Edmonton to New York City, and it's all one long form narrative. So unlike something episodic, where the story is contained in one episode, this is like one long story. And so it's very challenging to ensure that each episode has a beginning, middle, and end. Each episode, each act has its own, climax and conflict. And so while at the same time keeping the show completely real and kind of observational. So it was, and we had very little time to do this, to transition it from a feature to a series. Very little time. It was a mad rush. And in the end, I think that the series format worked much better given the nature of what we were doing, because we had so many stops and so many adventures. I hate to think how we would have had to cut this down to do a feature in the end, in retrospect.
Mm-hmm. What was the original plan for the feature? Where were you going to go? Were you always going to go to Toronto?
We had a version of it where we went down to LA.
Dude, the first version we had that we pitched Telephone was like from Edmonton to San Francisco to Chicago, then to Miami. It was like weeks and weeks. It was insane. We would never be able to pull this off, especially with no budget.
Yeah.
It was very ambitious.
And what did AMI see in that, and what did they have any changes based on that they wanted made in order for them to like give you the go ahead from your original pitch? What were they looking for?
I could tell you what they were fixating on, in the pitch, which was, us, Fred and I's dynamic and showing off and being very honest with the care work dynamic, but also showing off as much of the community and the problems that they're facing and platforming, their voices very much in the vein of what Jeremy was saying in the last talk of, giving them a platform to vent rage, giving them a space where we don't expect them to be overcoming and inspiring, but like really lean into this dark humor that the community is like canonically has because of the absurd circumstances that we have to live through. So I think they were excited to see good, authentic representation of the community, where we're very much centering and focusing on their voices.
And talk a bit more. So, it was very important to you that this was sort of anti-inspiration porn, and maybe I'm not super familiar with what was on the network at the time, or what the sort of what was in the zeitgeist in terms of disability content, but you really wanted to kind of go against that. So talk about why that was important to you and what you did to challenge that.
Well, yeah, and inspiration porn is a way that media tends to objectify disabled people by focusing specifically on them overcoming things, pushing through. And, the kind of critique of that is that it ignores a lot of systemic structures that we have to interact with. Like, for example, me having to interact with bureaucracies to get care work and how that, affects larger structures. The zeitgeist at the time, back when we were first starting to work together in the early 2010s, was not there, right? They were still very much fixated on doing, inspirational narratives. And we didn't have much leeway to try and break away from that, even though I think we did try an attempt, in the kind of 2016 era. So it was a very big priority for me to show a more honest representation of the circumstances that people with disabilities are dealing with, which is, mass systemic poverty. They have, they're stratified from work. They're stratified from care work that helps them function in community. And, nowadays we're even having to fight for the right to live in community. In the United States right now, they're attacking the statues of the 504 legislation, which, says things as radical as disabled people deserve to live in community. So, I really wanted to focus the political priorities on the community and how we can make things better for them and give that a platform.
There's so much like catch-22 in this bureaucracy stuff. Like that's really at the heart of Crip Trip. I mean, how do we even pay Danny for, directing a TV show? Because if he gets paid, that means he gets income and he loses his social support network and loses caregiving. Therefore, he can't get paid. The complexity of this is so deep that we decided to take like a sort of meta-textual approach to this, where you do see the camera crew, they are a part of the show, because just the nature of making a TV show like this is almost impossible. I think that's really at its core what it's about.
We're almost out of time. I'm going to throw one more question at each of you and limit you to 20 to 30 seconds answer. What would you say to people who have an idea, but maybe they're meeting a lot of rejection, or maybe they're getting a lot of negative feedback? How do you balance, pushing through to do what you want to do versus giving up and moving on to something else? What would any kind of early advice be for people who have a great idea that they want to pursue?
Maintain your whatever that creative spark or guiding ethos, right? And compromise where you think you can, but make sure that you have the integrity to be willing to argue for certain creative decisions that you're making. Another thing I would say is a lot of rejection is very ambiguous, and I experienced this both in academia and in film. Where you don't know who's sitting on a jury, you don't know where the current zeitgeist is. It could be they have too many series in a similar vein. It could be that something's oversaturated, or someone was sitting on a panel judging you that might have had different taste. So I think maintaining your own creative vision and will always be more beneficial than compromising left and right and then losing the thread, I guess.
Wonderful. Fred, you have 10 seconds.
Sure. Learn a good technical skill to make an income. We learned that from talking to Jim Lebrecht, who did Crip Camp, and he became like an audio mixer and made good money, and that allowed him to explore creative stuff. So it's good to like pursue an income in the industry as well as creative endeavors, I think.
Great. Okay. That's it for us. Thanks, everybody. We now have a break where it will be 7 minutes, and then we're back, I'm not sure what time, with Christine Kleckner from the NSI.
Enjoy Matt Mack DJing, I believe.
Yes.
Yo. It's like 7 in the morning, you still cool. I know I gotta let you go. It hurt me just to say goodbye. Lately I've been feeling broke. I'm feeling all dead inside. Baby, I just wanna know, was your love all along? Questions start to fill my mind. I just wanna be alive. I know I got too close to you. I hate the fact that I fell in love with you. But it's alright, I'm numb inside. But then your love is like a melody that's stuck in my mind, yeah. You're stuck in my brain. Love is like pain that runs through my veins. Oh, you You've become what I hate, but lust is like chains that no one escapes. So you're the devil in disguise that drowns me like riptides. Now I just can't live by your destructive ways. You're digging my grave like, yeah. I know I gotta let you go. It hurt me just to say goodbye. Lately I've been feeling broke. I'm feeling all dead inside. Baby, I just wanna know, was your love all along? Questions start to fill my mind. I just wanna be alive. I know I got too close to you. I hate the fact that I fell in love with you. But it's alright, I'm numb inside. But then your love is like a melody that's stuck in my mind. Yeah, it sings me to sleep, sinking in deep. I wish we could keep the love that we need. Oh, how could this be? We used to be free, the king to your queen. Oh, you're the devil in disguise that drowns me like riptides. So how did your lips slide? I just think I need to just live life. Once picture perfect, but now I just despise the way that you smiled, faking and proud. So I'm taking your crown, cause your destructive ways that we dig in my grave like, yeah. I know I gotta let you go. It hurt me just to say goodbye. Lately I've been feeling broke. I'm feeling all dead inside. Baby, I just wanna know, was your love all along? Questions start to fill my mind. I just wanna be alive. I know I got too close to you. I hate the fact that I fell in love with you. But it's alright, I'm numb inside. But then your love is like a melody that's stuck in my mind, yeah. Making vibes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's 2020 vibes. Let's get it. When I'm with you, I'm in paradise. Paradise. I swear my eyes are paralyzed. Paralyzed. Cause with you, I'm in paradise. Paradise. And trust me, that is rare to find. Rare to find. Used to live without a care in life. Care in life. And now I am in paradise. Paradise. I'll hold you down, I swear I'll try. So I try. I just wanna share the night. Share the night with you. Remember you my soul, the balance that I need. You challenge me in ways that help me to believe that you're my only hope. A place where I feel safe. A heart made of gold that I will never change. You're beautiful, I know that I will never waste this. Want you to know that I'm so happy that we waited. We have a love that everybody out here chasing. You are my world, so here's my whole heart for your taking. So every day when I wake up, I can't believe my eyes. I feel alive, the deepest of my dreams are alive. I will take your lead, I just wanna take some time. Just take my time. When I'm with you, I'm in paradise. Paradise. I swear my eyes are paralyzed. Paralyzed. Cause with you, I'm in paradise. Paradise. And trust me, that is rare to find. Rare to find. Used to live without a care in life. Care in life. And now I am in paradise. Paradise. I'll hold you down, I swear I'll try. So I try. I just wanna share the night. Share the night with you. Paradise, paradise. Hard to find, yeah, yeah. You're my love, you are my light. Like the sun, you help me shine. Through my pain and through hard time. You never stray, you never learn. Girl, you're my escape, with you I hide. We'll find our way, we'll share our lives. We have a love that will not die. Will not die, yeah. So every day when I wake up, I can't believe my eyes. I feel alive, the deepest of my dreams are alive. I will take your lead, I just wanna take some time. Just take my time. When I'm with you, I'm in paradise. Paradise. I swear my eyes are paralyzed. Paralyzed. Cause with you, I'm in paradise. Paradise. And trust me that it's rare to find, rare to find. Used to live without a care in life, care in life. And now I am in paradise, paradise. I'll hold you down, I swear I'll try, swear I'll try. I just wanna share the night with you. So every day when I wake up, I can't believe my eyes. I feel alive, the deepest of my dreams are alive. I will take your lead, I just wanna take some time, just take my time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like 7 in the morning, you still cool. I know I gotta let you go. It hurt me just to say goodbye. Lately I've been feeling broke. I'm feeling all dead inside. Baby, I just wanna know, was your love all along? Questions start to fill my mind. I just wanna be alive. I know I got too close to you. I hate the fact that I fell in love with you. But it's alright, I'm numb inside.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back from the break. Thank you so much for being here. And again, thank you to CBC AccessWorks and the team for the invitation to speak here today. My name is Christine Kleckner, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Screen Institute. I'm a middle-aged white woman with short blonde hair, bright red lipstick, and I'm wearing a dark green button-up shirt. I'm seated in my home office with a blurred background. So a huge shout out to the creators of the last few projects that we've been learning about. It's just all incredibly creative and brilliant content that proves yet again just how incredible our Canadian writers, directors, producers, and talent are. So I'm here today to talk about an upcoming case study written about the National Screen Institute Disabled Producers Lab. I don't have a lot of content to share with you that's nearly as visually engaging as what we've just been seeing, but working on the training side of things at the NSI, I can give you a bit of a sneak peek about some of the pieces that we've learned running the first iteration of the Disabled Producers Lab. So the lab was co-created by Ophira Kaloff and Michelle Ascarali as a disability-led professional development initiative centering access, care, and creative leadership in screen production. The lab ran from November 2024 to February 2025 and brought together 5 disabled producers to explore practical frameworks for accessible production. And this was across development, crewing, budgeting, financing, and storytelling. So we embedded a researcher named Tori Hunter into the program to document the first iteration of the lab, and the resulting case study will launch later this year. And today I'm going to share a preview of what it will cover. I will say, and I'm sorry I don't have more to show you guys. It's been a kickstart of it's been a kicker of a start to 2026. But I will say that our goal with this case study is that once we have it presented and that when we do disseminate it later this year, it will be a really practical study for any engaged industry members to read and get a sense of some deep analysis that occurred within the disability community with people who have experience in producing. A lot of great information is going to come from this case study. I'll just give you a little bit of an overview. The study draws from the lab's curriculum, participant experiences, and collective conversations that occurred. And one of the core ideas is that disability is shaped by production systems and environments, not by the limitations of any individual. So it begins with very much an intention setting and capacity building from both the personal and production wide needs of a production. It looks at tools like personal access documents, access riders, and production mandates, and how to clarify values and limitations early on in the process that we can use, that we can define to reduce friction and burnout later. And when I talk about limits, I don't mean the limits of the person, I mean the limits of the system that that person's working within and what needs to change there. Regarding casting, crewing, and leadership, we examine an industry that often prioritizes speed and familiarity and try to unpack what that looks like and explore strategies for preempting burnout, building redundancy through role doubling, to support each other, navigating leadership from the margins, and the pressure that people are feeling from that corner, and creating mentorship and trainee pathways. And it also highlights accessible hiring practices. A major focus is how accessibility can be woven across departments rather than siloed into a single role. The case study outlines roles such as accessibility and disability culture producers, coaches, consultants, and access providers. It also clarifies the distinction between UK access coordinators and US production accessibility coordinators and explores how these roles can be built and sustained here in Canada. We look at onboarding tools like access surveys and menus and the importance of normalizing access from the very first day, early in development. The study also explores how to navigate where some of the tension sits, whether it's production demands or personalities, and sort of shares examples where access planning actually creates creative breakthroughs and can alleviate or eliminate those kinds of tensions. Regarding the scheduling, budgeting, and financing, which is fairly locked in the industry, this lab took time to examine what time buffers, alternative scheduling models might look like, how to account for both one-time and ongoing accessibility costs, and how to build that in a more substantial way. It also addresses funding gaps, rigid timelines, evolving access needs, and the question of responsibility. So who ensures that accessibility is resourced and not left to individual producers to absorb, where much hesitancy sits with producers who don't necessarily want to take on what they might perceive as an add-on, which it's not. Finally, the study looks at storytelling itself, so audience accessibility, agency and ownership, IP, and how stories are framed and pitched, especially when the decision makers don't share the same lived experiences and are the ones making these decisions. So, ultimately, the study offers practical tools and insights for producers, funders, and industry leaders who want to build more sustainable and equitable production cultures that respect and want to ground disabled leadership within this industry. That's sort of the gist of the study. Our hope, well, our plan will be to be releasing the case study later this year, and we do plan to do a launch that is very public, very accessible. We will have a fully accessible case study report to share with the disability community and the industry at large. And I do personally think that this is the beginning of, alongside with the work at the Disability Screen Office, who's a partner on this, this is the beginning of building protocols into the industry here in Canada that we aren't necessarily seeing just yet, and that I do believe will be beneficial to this industry. So we're very excited. The team behind it's working very hard. It's been a very challenging and insightful experience, and I definitely I would definitely like to acknowledge how much work Ophira and Michelle have put into the study. So that's me. Thank you so much. I have my script in front of me that introduces the next person, and of course I've lost it. I'm so sorry.
No worries, Christine, I got it.
Rich, I'm introducing Rich. There you are. Thank you, Rich. I will pass it off to you. I apologize. I have too many things open on my screen. Thank you.
No worries, no. Thank, thank you for having me today. It's good to be with you today. I will be the boring business guy who will walk you through some concepts of creativity, creativity, in fact, disability on the screen. So if we can bring up the slides here, please. And I will try to get it back on time if I can. Which may be an empty promise, but we'll see how that goes. So we titled this disability as creative infrastructure for one simple reason. There are many, many, many different ways disability can show up on screen. There are many ways that disability can show up on screen, and there's many ways that we can leverage disability in creativity to make what we put on screen better. And we're going to explore some of that today in 8 minutes and get you on your way. Next slide, please. So, what does disability look like today on screen? Well, there's two major buckets of disability programming. Programming with disabilities according to the show, the assembly, and programming with disability is a core or in some cases non-core to the character. So these two kinds of products show disability very differently, where one is a very deep dive and one is a lighter touch that may add flavor but doesn't taste like disability. And we've used these two examples today because both the assembly and his rivalry are right in the zeitgeist as we speak. For those of you who don't know, one of the characters of his rivalry lives with autism. Now, I didn't know that because I don't watch the show, but in my research, this comes up. There is a fairly deep undercurrent to the show in the autism community where they absolutely love this. It tends to be outside of advocacy, which is where most disability lives. I want to repeat that. Most disability lives outside of advocacy. And where we get our creativity typically is from advocacy. So most of our research focuses on advocates for those who are disabled, who may or may not be disabled themselves. And that can change how portrayal gets shown, and that can change how creativity shows up on screen. In my job, we spend our days asking people with disabilities one simple question: what do you want? And the answer is never one thing. It's varied just like everybody else. But there are things that we can pull out of these audiences to understand, okay, we need to go this way, we need to go that way, we need to dive deeper here. And this is true whether we're talking about a box of cereal or the next blockbuster movie that Paramount is going to put out this year. Next slide, please. So we talked about creativity on the screen in terms of storytelling. That's part of media. The other part of media is what we see every day in the news. And yes, creativity comes into the news too. These aren't boring people who just repeat what they see every day. They gotta go out and build stories
understand characters and portray those characters in a way that their audience will understand and relate to. So in the news today, you see two basic types of stories in disability. My former colleague, David Onley, the former Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, who was also a newsman for decades, used to talk about people with disabilities in the news as the steam squirrel at the end of the newscast. Isn't this really cool what this guy or gal could do? That's typically what you see in news today, still, even in 2026. Versus real news that tends to be more deep, tends to be more nuanced, and frankly, it's harder to discover because the way people portray disability today in their day-to-day lives is it doesn't generally come to the forefront. It isn't generally what they do day in, day out. It's simply a part of what they do. And I put the leader of the official opposition on the screen for one simple reason. They had the convention a couple weeks ago, and it came out that his oldest daughter, I believe she's 7, lives with autism and is nonverbal. And the way this was portrayed in the news was not handled very well. It's a great story. It's a story of the majority of Canadians because roughly 60 to 70% of Canadians are either disabled themselves or have an immediate family member who's disabled as well. So this kind of story should be told as part of our day-to-day news, but it's not. It's pulled out in this weird way. It's pulled out in a way where it's portrayed as somewhat of a scheme squirrel, as somewhat of a hero conversation. And the news can do a much better job to tell those real human stories that touch most Canadians every day. At a small aside, do the math on this, 27% of people with disabilities, roughly 400 people in the House of Commons. That means roughly 100 of them have a disability themselves. I don't hear them talking about it. Right? So these are the kinds of stories that a good news person saying, hey, why am I hearing about this? Can I dive deeper into this? Can I understand what this is? And can I build a solid, creative, logical, fact-based story off of these kinds of conversations? And sadly, these stories aren't making it there because I don't think they're conceived of. That's the problem with creative infrastructure. Next slide, please. Now we get into some geeky stuff, which is the stuff I enjoy. So we often spend a lot of time with our clients who are large businesses, helping them come up with ideas. And we often tell them that creativity isn't magic. Everyone thinks creative people are some kind of magicians who come up with things sitting upside down in their balconies, twiddling their thumbs and toes in some kind of silence cadence, right? But no, creativity is very simple. Creativity is about finding a bunch of ideas, trying them out, and seeing which ones work. So on this slide, I put the number 4,000 ideas and one or two that work. So there's been lots of research over the years that say in order to come up with one or two ideas that are commercially viable, hello producers, you have to come up with 4,000 ideas. So roughly 3,990 ideas that suck to get to one or two that work. That changes the notion of what creativity is. One of the ways that you come up with these ideas is something called analogous thinking. So let's say you have a character who goes through life, she is the protagonist, she is a rock star. What would happen if you gave that protagonist a non-visible disability? How would that affect the story? How would that affect the character? What kind of ideas could be generated out of that analogous thinking that could make it into a script or a screenshot or any kind of creative notion that you may be thinking about? Disability is often overlooked in those analogous thought processes. And that is the key to getting this done. Next slide, please. So the point of this talk is simple. But rather than taking disability as what you're fed, and you're fed mostly by people with some kind of agenda, how can you dive into people's lives, people's realities, to pull out those great stories, to pull out those interesting elements that could put your idea over the top and they can really drive home value. Thank you very much for your time. And with that, I will introduce Elspeth Arbo from the Disability Screen Office. Elspeth.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm Elspeth. I am the operations manager at the Disability Screen Office. I am based in Toronto, but we are a national organization. So I will begin by giving a brief overview of what the DSO is and does, and then I will focus in specifically on a fantastic resource that we've just launched called the Industry Resource Hub. So if we could have our first slide, please. Great. So I'm just going to rearrange my windows so that I can see everything. Okay, so the DSO is a national bilingual disability-led non-for-profit organization whose mission is to develop opportunities for disabled creatives and advocate for a more accessible Canadian screen industry. Our vision is an accessible and inclusive Canadian screen industry where disabled creatives thrive. We do this in many different ways. Next slide, please. So we do a lot of advocacy, of course, with different government organizations, different levels of government and regulatory bodies like the CRTC. We also have fantastic relationships with many of our partners, like funders, like Telefilm, the CMF, and then we have our own programming where we're really doing the work that we want to see in the screen industries. So to quickly walk through what those programs are, first we've got, with a fantastically long title, Mapping Representation and Barriers to Participation by People with Disabilities in the Screen-Based Media and Broadcasting Sectors, also just known as Mapping Representation. So many of you may have actually participated in some of the research that we were doing in the initial stages of this, which is just to collect data about the state of disability in the screen industries in Canada, because of course we have that StatCan statistic that has been repeated many times of, like 1 in 4, 27%. But how many people with disabilities are actually working in the screen industry? So, the research part of that is, say, pretty much done, and we're working on compiling that into a research study and best practices guide. The past couple of years for the DSO have been really working behind the scenes and doing research and getting things ready. And 2026 is a big year of launching things for us. So you can look forward to very soon, in the next few months, we will be launching the best practices guide that will come out of the mapping representations programs and many more things to come from that. We have our industry resource hub, which I will be speaking more directly on in just a minute. So I'll skip over that one to just briefly go through the others. Our Screen Festival Accessibility Program, which is working with festivals and event organizers across Canada to make their festivals and events and conferences more accessible to people with disabilities. So that people with disabilities can be in the room, they can be active participants, they can access the material, and they can be in these decision-making conversations that happen in these spaces. So that also has a best practices guide and a framework also launching later this year, which will have an eye towards event organizers and how to kind of make an accessibility plan for your organization and for your event or festival, so that you can welcome in the disability community and be a more accessible organization or event. Next, we've got the Accessibility and Disability e-learning series, which is also in the works right now. And this will help. This is focused specifically towards industry stakeholders to kind of help them learn about the regulations around accessibility that their work needs to adhere to. And this is focused specifically on the Canadian screen industry. Next, we've got our Production Accessibility Prod Access Initiative. This is also launching this year. But like we've heard a few other folks talk about, we've got accessibility coordinators and different production roles around accessibility that exist in other countries. And this is an initiative that we're taking on with the NSI to pilot and pioneer this position in Canada. So that will involve training up a small cohort of folks to work on sets and to work in production. And it's going to be fantastic. If you work in production, if you own a production company, definitely keep your eye out for more information about this program, because it's going to be fantastic. And then last, we have our Industry Events Access Program, which is just focused on bringing people with disabilities into industry spaces. So that's bringing delegations to different film festivals or to different events. We recently brought a cohort of 5 disabled creatives to Primetime. We also bring delegates to TIFF and Vancouver International, and we have a delegation coming up to Banff as well in June. So we're busy at the DSO. Next slide. So now I'll talk specifically about the Industry Resource Hub. This has been in the works for a long time. We've had researchers working on it, and it has now launched. It is in its beta phase. We're still ironing out some of the kinks, but We're really pleased to launch with over, I believe, 400 or 500 pieces of data already in the Resource Hub. And what the intention of the hub is just the kind of one-stop place where you can look for accessibility service providers, you can look for accessible venues, and you can find all sorts of guides and other resources written by other folks. So you can look on the next slide, please. It's completely free to access and it's searchable across different categories. It's very easy to filter through if you're looking for specific services or specific locations. If you're based in Calgary or Halifax or the Northwest Territories, you can search specific by area. And this is just growing. This is just launched about a month ago. And now that it's out in the world, we're asking that if you are a service provider, if you have a guide, if you're a venue, please submit your information so that we can continue to grow the hub. If you're ever looking for anything from how to create a budget for accessibility, there's a guide for that. If you're looking for ASL interpreters and where to book them, there's information about that. And all of this can be found on our website, which is going to be shown in another slide. Next slide, which is just kind of what I've just said, what you'll find under each section. And then if you go actually just to the next slide, you'll kind of get a look of what it looks like when you are browsing through the hub. You'll have different service providers or locations, and you can click on read more. We're really pleased that the majority of the resources that are on the hub are self-submitted. So we do not vet the quality of the service providers. We vet the quality of the submission. So we really want to stress to you that this is a starting point for your accessibility. You need to do the work still of contacting these people, seeing if they're right for your project. But one of our biggest questions is just where can I find an ASL interpreter or an LSQ interpreter or someone who does described video. And now you can go to the hub and you can do your search and you can find what's right for you. So thank you very much. Again, it's on our website, which is over here, dso-orfe.ca. You can scan the QR code. Any questions, you can contact me directly. Thank you so much. Sign up for our newsletter for all of our exciting announcements. And I was paranoid I was going to forget to introduce the next person. So please give a warm welcome to Richard Kavanagh, the CEO of the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund. Take it away, Richard.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm Richard. I'm the CEO at the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund. Natasha, could you put the first slide up on the screen, please? I'm a senior-aged white male with short white hair, a mustache, and goatee. I have blue eyes. I wear glasses. I live with moderate to severe hearing loss and use hearing aids. I'm wearing a gray shirt, and I'm sitting in the fund's office in Ottawa. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we're a non-for-profit agency that provides grants for projects that advance accessibility to broadcasting content on all platforms for people with disabilities. We're focused on innovative solutions and on addressing gaps and barriers. So if we receive an application, say, to apply artificial intelligence to a new form of live captioning, one that reduces production costs for described video, or one from a university that's interested in launching some courses on accessible media production, those are things that we are interested in funding. Over 11 years, we've completed 8 rounds of grants and funded 41 projects and we're hoping to expand our footprint to include streaming service content and other media moving forward. So quick intro. Now, I usually spend my time with audiences talking about those specific gaps, but I'm going to go off the board a little bit today. And I want to talk about the origin of those gaps and barriers, because that origin is not just specific to broadcasting. It cuts across all sectors. They have much deeper roots, and that makes them much tougher to resolve. So I'm going to give you 4 fairly quick thoughts that directly impact our thinking, and I hope might influence the audiences as well on how to overcome the challenges posed by these gaps. Natasha, could you put up the next slide, please? Yeah, you've seen and heard this number already. 27% of Canadians over the age of 15 reported a couple of years ago to StatsCan having a disability. I think we can agree this number is really big at 8 million Canadians. It's also low, since people will still hesitate to divulge a disability. And something I'll get into in a moment, it's growing fast with an aging population that's living longer. I'm going to come back to this very important number in a moment. My second thought is a reality. Natasha, next slide, please. This slide reads, equity, diversity, and inclusion are under fire. Pushing forward on EDI is always a huge battle, and it's always at risk of losing ground. Just look south of the border. This is certainly the current reality for the inclusion of persons with disabilities across playing fields that are anything but level across all sectors of Canada. I've been working on these issues for over 30 years, and that experience tells me that there's kind of an ebb and flow to accessibility. Occasionally, and I use the word rarely, it can be a little bit more prominent. But more often than not, and you've heard it from other speakers today, accessibility is still treated as an add-on, an after the fact, and an afterthought. And frankly speaking, perhaps more so than in any of the past many years, this is my sense right now. So we have a large and growing population of Canadians with disabilities. Our inclusion is under fire across the board. So my third thought is at least a partial remedy to this dilemma that goes directly to its origins. Thank you, Natasha. This slide reads inclusive design with 2 question marks. We all know and understand the principles of inclusive design, but I'm getting at something different here. For sure, a building needs ramps. It needs reachable elevator buttons with audio. A remote for your TV needs easy-to-use buttons for captioning and described video. And as we know, accessibility that's built in is way cheaper than a retrofit. What I'm proposing would make accessibility far more prevalent than inclusive design places or items of everyday use. We need inclusive design in the way governments think and work, in the way commerce is structured and managed. We need permanent buy-in at the highest levels, consistent and committed people, policies, and practices tasked with advancing the mission of accessibility 24/7, 365, all of which, by the way, must be guided and informed by the lived experience of people with disabilities. This means that a federal cabinet table includes a minister responsible for persons with disabilities and their inclusion. A media company has a designated senior executive with accessibility in the title. Governments have predictable A-level year-over-year spending on accessibility, and corporate balance sheets have it as a cost and profit center. The outcomes of this are obvious. Inclusive design that is structural, baked into the institutions that have a huge impact on our lives, means accessibility is no longer an afterthought. It becomes a given, a norm, as someone else referred to today. There are examples now of how this can work. This event, the CBC's work, the CRTC's focus on accessibility, successive accessibility updates on your iPhone, those are all really good examples of structural inclusive design. My fourth and final thought is this. Sounds great, but how do we accomplish this sort of dreamlike reality? How do we go about actually embedding inclusive design in our institutions? Here's my answer. For each and every decision made, whether in government, business, whatever sector you're talking about, you do this. You have a goal alongside all your other goals. And that goal is, I want to build a curb cut. Curb spelled C-U-R-B. In other words, a sloped sidewalk in an intersection. Whether physical, digital, virtual, or otherwise, if it has an inclusive design for those with a disability, and you've heard this from others as well, it will work for people of all abilities. A parent with a stroller can use the ramp. A bar owner can tap the CC to get the game on a noisy night. Anyone can hear, see, or feel an emergency alert. But what is the motivator? This is the core issue. What motivates a government, a corporation, an organization to even consider this? Natasha, could you flip back to the 27 slide on number 2, please? Thank you. One forward. Great. So 27, rising fast. You know the old saying, right? You either have a disability, you're waiting for one, or you know someone who does, and often that someone is close by, as Rich just referred to. A curb cut that supports independent living can be as important to a person who is close to you, your parent, your child, your boss, your friend, your employee, your caregiver, as it is to the person for whom it was intended in the first place. This means that inclusive design becomes a universal design and can tap into an absolutely gigantic market of consumers and voters. That 27, one thing you may not know is that that number has doubled in the past 30 years. A generation from now, Canadians with disabilities could well outnumber able-bodied Canadians. It is not that far-fetched given the tracking of the numbers. If you're designing a place, an event, a product, a policy, and you don't bring this thinking to the forefront of your actions, you are doing so at your growing peril, as millions of people increasingly look for accessibility solutions every single day. So I would encourage you to take some of my thoughts into your own thinking with your own spin and uniqueness and move them forward. I will say again, events like this today are hugely important in moving us down the field on this. Thank you so much for your time. Natasha, thank you for all your help. I am pleased to introduce our next speaker, Em Williams, who is the Media Accessibility Supervisor at AMI. And Em, it's over to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Richard. Thanks for having me on AccessWorks. Today we're talking about Eco-Ableism. The image on the slide that is incoming is of a sprouting plant with water droplets raining down. My hope today is to plant the seed of an idea that we can build on together. As we move toward being more eco-conscious and sustainable with productions and storytelling, how do sustainable decisions impact people with disabilities? I'm Em Williams, I'm in my 40s, I identify as white, queer, non-disabled, and have short salt and pepper hair. I'm in Toronto. My background features the Accessible Media logo with the letters AMI in high contrast. For those of you who may not be familiar with AMI, I'll just take a few moments to talk about AMI. Accessible Media, or AMI, is a national media company that entertains, informs, and empowers Canadians with disabilities through original content created by people with disabilities. AMI's content is for everyone. Next slide, please. On screen, I have an image from amiplus.ca, where you can stream our French content through AMI Tele, or AMI Tele, and our English AMI audio programs and podcasts, as well as AMI TV, has a selection of scripted and documentary programming like Underdog Inc., Pretty Blind, One More Time, Crip, who you heard from earlier, and the Squeaky Wheel Canada, just to name a few. Of course, we're also available on basic cable if you haven't cut the cord yet. For more about AMI's programming, our research panel, and apprenticeship opportunities, please visit ami.ca. We can go to the next slide. AMI is a member of CB4S, the Canadian Broadcasters for Sustainability, a group of Canadian broadcasters building a greener media landscape together. We're comprised of over 20 Canadian broadcasters. Find out more about CB4S on CBC's Business and Rights page at cbc.ca or by using the QR code on screen. I've also displayed the CB4S logo, a mosaic patterned maple leaf in red, green, and white framed by the lines of a camera's viewfinder. So let's get into Eco-Ableism. AMI has added sustainability to our core values as we set out on this journey of consciously making our productions more sustainable. And as a small broadcaster, we're thinking, how can we uniquely contribute to this group? So that brings us here today talking about something we should all consider as we move forward with our sustainability efforts, Eco-Ableism, which might be a new term for you, or hopefully you have considered this already. On this slide, I have an image of brightly colored plastic straws against a pink background and the title Eco-Ableism. Eco-Ableism is a form of ableism. Ableism, simply put, is discrimination on the basis of disability. It isn't always intentional and can range from microaggressions to bigger exclusions or full exclusions, systemic, attitudinal, etc. The list goes on. With eco-ableism, we have conflicting perspectives of disability rights versus environmental sustainability. As we see more and more people with disabilities behind and in front of the camera, which is so awesome, we've heard a lot about that today, we need to think about inclusion alongside sustainability. On set, this could manifest as making simple accommodations. Buffet-style food with reusable plates and cutlery might be the top choice, but due to allergies or sensitivities, even with cleaning products, individualized food might be the way to go, as I saw last week on a set visit to the Squeaky Wheel Canada Season 2. I should note, last season on the Squeaky Wheel, almost 60 cast and crew identified with having a disability. The safety of the cast and crew was prioritized in certain areas, like using disposable masks because cloth masks just wouldn't cut it. Overall, the production still had a very robust sustainability plan. So we're learning from this that sustainability needs to be flexible. With that same production, some of the other sustainability plans worked well for accessibility, just naturally, like virtual production office, virtual writer's room, as well as transportation that included a mix of carpooling, public transit, and electric vehicles. Thanks to the producer, Michelle Asgarelli at Hitsby Entertainment, for sharing her thoughts on eco-ableism with me. Squeaky Wheel airs summer of 2026, or you can check out season 1 currently on amiplus.ca. Environmental ableism can manifest in various ways, making the assumption that everyone uses their body in the same way. For example, the ban of single-use plastic disposable straws. Many people rely on single-use plastics every day as a means of survival, such as various medical supplies that are disposable for hygienic purposes. While there are alternatives to straws, we have to be mindful that those alternatives may not work for everyone. Choking hazards, for instance, or allergies to various materials. When it comes to the ban on straws, there are exceptions in place for personal use in healthcare settings. So just to wrap up here, when we think about reducing plastics, the focus should be limiting or banning products that aren't accessibility aids, like cheap single-use or junky items that won't last. There's a cost to being sustainable, and that's the other thing to balance. The least expensive thing might be the one that is most accessible, or the one that's not the most accessible. Reducing first and foremost, repurposing, buying used, renting, all of that good stuff. It also takes energy also known as spoons, to do these things, as Michelle mentioned to me as well. I look forward to exploring this topic further to see where we can find the balance of accommodation, inclusion, and sustainability. So keep advocating, asking questions, and of course, learning together. And with that, I'll pass it over to Karen Cloud and Sarah Duda from CBC's Content Accessibility team. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Em. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Duda. I'm the Content Accessibility Lead at CBC. I'm a woman with long, wavy brown hair, and I'm wearing a blue shirt.
And I'm Karen Cloud. I'm the Content Accessibility Advisor, and I'm a woman with shoulder length, dark hair, and I'm wearing a black shirt and glasses.
And Karen and I work with teams across CBC and audiences and creators to make our content accessible to the widest possible audience on all of our platforms. And today, we are very excited to talk to you about Disability Life. Natasha, can we please have the first slide? Thank you. Disability Life is a brand new section on cbc.ca that aggregates content for and about people with disabilities from across English services. Next slide, please. The image on the slide is of an individual in a wheelchair. Why Disability Life? Well, as Lisa and Richard and many others have mentioned, we know that 27% of Canadians identify as having at least one disability. So creating a dedicated destination for disability content is about serving a massive growing audience that has been historically underserved and ensuring that they have a primary hub for the news that impacts their lives. Disability Life simplifies the process of finding disability-related content, which is a challenge that was identified by disabled audience members during our National Accessibility Plan consultations. And on that note, I will turn it over to Karen to talk a little bit more about the origins of the site and what you will find inside.
So next slide, please, Natasha. Thanks. So Disability Life was initially suggested by a Toronto disability advocate who pushed for a space where disabled Canadians could see themselves reflected without having to dig through mountains of content. Following the successful blueprint for being Black in Canada, Disability Life really validates the disability experience as a distinct and vital beat in Canadian journalism. It's no longer a special interest story. It's part of the national priority. Next slide, please. So what's inside? And on this slide, I have an image of one of the stories from Disability Life from Go Public. And Disability Life really tracks policy, like the rollout of the Canada Disability Benefit. It features first-person essays that tackle topics from the complexities of disabled parenting to the joy of adaptive sports. It's also a portal to CBC GEM programming and podcasts like Sickboy and Short-Sighted, audio content transcripts, and our own Accessible Canada Act plan. By housing these together, the page ensures that an audience member coming for a news update doesn't have to go far to find other relevant articles and may discover a piece of disability art or cultural content as well. The next 3 slides are images taken from Disability Life of some of the articles that we have aggregated on that site. So the first is Discoverability, and I just wanted to talk a moment about that, saying that previously disability stories were buried in health or local news sections, making them hard to find. The hub aggregates everything from news stories and disability about disability to gem documentaries and upcoming content with accessibility features like the Olympic opening ceremonies that had ASL into one accessible place. So it's about removing the barriers to locating content of interest to the disability community. And if it affects the community, it's now a bit more discoverable. Next slide, please. And the perspective, Disability Life prioritizes the disability lens. We're moving away from, I think somebody mentioned earlier, inspiration porn, where disabled people are used as sort of feel-good props for others, and we're moving more towards authentic agency. So whether it's an essay on the nuances of disabled parenting or a deep dive into Crip culture, Disability Life includes stories about disability that are told by people with disabilities, reflecting the true diversity of the experience. And some of the stories I have highlighted here are titled, "I Have ADHD," "This is what it feels like," or "People assume I can't be a doctor because of my disability." And the third one is, "Why it's funny or not funny that I have to jump through hoops to get medical equipment." Next slide, please. And this is accountability. Again, the images of more headlines from the Disability Life page. So accountability is really about transparency. The Disability Life page aggregates disability and accessibility stories, tracking how policies like the Canada Disability Benefit actually impact daily life. By centering the voices of those navigating these systems, the hub ensures that the gap between the policy on paper and life on the ground is visible, providing the community with information needed to advocate for real progress. And back over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Right. So a platform like this only works if people know that it exists. So along with a press release and social media marketing, we directly contacted disability organizations across the country to ensure that they knew that this resource was available to them. The page isn't hidden. It's available in the drop-down menu on our main CBC News page. And so by combining direct outreach with prime digital real estate, we're making sure that these stories aren't just published, but are actually found by people who want them the most. And the image on this slide is of a promotion we did in ASL to ensure that we reached our deaf audiences as well. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. So this concludes our presentation, and that is a wrap for AccessWorks 2026. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us today. Thank you to all of our amazing presenters. Thank you to everyone who worked so hard to bring this event to life. We appreciate all of you, and an email is going to be sent out through Eventbrite that will have a link to the video of today's session and some additional resources, including links to all of the presentations that you saw here today and other things that were discussed. Please share this resource with your networks. Last year, the event found, around 1,000 viewers on demand. So it would be great if you could help us get the word out. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in, and take care, everybody. Bye.